Hey everybody, this is Joe Joseph, and this is the DailySheeple.com's News Shot. And I want to talk today a little bit about a lot of the geopolitical tensions that are going on, in a great piece by one of my favorite bloggers out there, Brandon Smith, really highlights what these geopolitical tensions are in fact designed to do. He and his website, altmarket.com, alt-market.com, you go there today, check it out. It says geopolitical tensions are designed to distract the public from economic decline. You know, that's what we are seeing. And I'm going to highlight some points to illustrate that, in fact, we are in decline, that we actually never really were on the up and up. You know, a lot of people seem to think because the stock market surges, why, that means everybody's fat, dumb, and happy. And I can tell you that nobody that I know, or very few people I know, have seen dramatic increases in their salaries. The cost of living is going up faster than salaries. You know, they'll make a big deal out of it when salaries actually do go up, but it's been relatively stagnant now since the early 2000s. And we can really thank President Bill Clinton for that. And, organizations like the Bilderberg Group, the Trilateral Commission, Council on Foreign Relations, we can thank them for everything that you see here, because it's a very few select bunch of control freaks that direct the flow of things, that make things happen, that are the movers and the shakers, that are the ring knockers, if you will. And Brandon highlights it. He says, tracking geopolitical and fiscal developments over the past several years is a bit like watching a slow-motion train wreck. You know exactly what the consequences of the event will be, and you try to warn people as much as possible, but ultimately you can't reverse the disaster. The disaster has, for all intents and purposes, already happened. Folks, I mean, we talk about this all the time over on Freaky Friday at Truth Frequency Radio. You know, with quantum physics, time itself really doesn't matter. And what has happened is already happened. What's going to happen in the future has actually already happened. See, we're just caught in this time jail, if you will, a construct that actually we've kind of created. And it says what we're witnessing is the aftermath as a foregone conclusion. It says this is why whenever someone asks me, as an economic and political analyst, when's the collapse going to happen? He says, I have to shake my head in bewilderment. The collapse is here now. It's done. It's a historical fact. It's just that not many people have the eyes to see it, yet primarily because they're hyper-focused on all the wrong things. And for many centuries now, elitists in power have understood the value of geopolitical distraction as a tool for controlling the masses. If you examine the underlying motivations behind the majority of the wars between nations, regardless of the era, you will in most cases discover that the power brokers on both sides tend to be rather friendly with each other. Case in point, you take a look at the bloodlines, the European bloodlines, right? Even at the height of wars between, say, like France and Great Britain, Germany and Great Britain, you know, during the medieval times, King Henry VIII, all these monarchs, they were all related to one another. They were all blood. So really, it was just a spat between relatives that happened. But how many people died because of that? And even today, it's the same thing, you know, where these people are friendly and cordial with one another, but at the same time, like what's going on in India and with China, you've got masses of Indian troops, Chinese troops massing at the border over a disputed territory. I guess China's claiming that India is encroaching on their territory and they want to defend their sovereign territory. And nobody will back down because no one wants to lose face. No one wants to be that guy that backed down. So they're trying to find, it's like, we really don't want to go to war. We really don't. But now it's become a matter of who's going to look bad and who's going to look good. And can we get out of this without anybody looking bad? You know, instead of saying, hey, yo, bro, you know what? We made a mistake. Everything's good. Love you long time. Back down. Nope. It's got to be that stupid ego-driven Anyway, it says one of the greatest illusions of human progress is the notion that most conflicts happen at random, that there are two sides, and that those sides are fighting over ideological differences. But in truth, most conflicts have nothing to do with ideological differences between governments and financial oligarchs. The real target of these conflicts is you. Or to be more precise, the psychology of the people. You want a great book to read? I would recommend the book The Crowd by Gustav Le Bon. If you haven't read it, it's very inexpensive. You go on Amazon. I'm sure you can get the ebook. But here's a guy in the 19th century that basically dissected the behavior of the crowd. And when I say the crowd, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be assembled in the same place. However, groupthink, people do clearly behave differently when they identify with a group of people. A la, I'm a Republican. A la, I'm a Democrat. A la, I'm an elk. I'm a moose. It doesn't matter. I'm a Mason. It doesn't matter what it is. Once you align yourself with these groups, it tends to change your mentality, especially when, there's a lot of you gathered together, but these days you don't have to be physically gathered together. You have the internet now. And it changes the way people behave. So they need to control the masses. And that's a great book that tells you how they go about doing it and how you understand that behavior. And if you understand things from their playbook, why then you'll get and see all of the programming, all of the propaganda, all of these events, you'll see the engineering and be able to identify it. It's very, very important. It says these scenarios are taken at face value by many, because most people have short attention spans. If an observer in 2007 was to be transported 10 years into the future to 2017, they'd find a world dramatic and horrifyingly in decline. And the shock would be overwhelming. Ask an observer today what they think of the state of the world, and they might see much to be concerned about. The human mind becomes easily acclimated to crises over time. We're resilient in that way, but also weak because we forget the way things should be in order to deal with the way things are. And we only seem to take drastic actions to improve our situation after we've already hit rock bottom. The year of 2017 has been, so far, host to some extreme accelerations in crisis and collapse, and rock bottom is not looking too far anymore. Take a look at what's going on in Venezuela. Okay, you've got Venezuela in collapse. That's a major economy in the world. Major oil producer. There's unrest in the Middle East. You've got China and India. You've got North Korea. I mean, the world, for lack of a better term, is at war. The Russia sanctions. It doesn't matter. But you see, there won't be any nuclear war because they're not going to let it get that far. They don't. That's just a control factor, a fear factor. They may have a limited nuclear event, maybe a terrorist attack that they can blame on something, but certainly not a global exchange. And there will be no moment, Brandon writes, of apocalypse as it's commonly displayed in Hollywood films. But we will witness lesser conflicts as a mean to turn our gaze away from the economy. Think about this. Retail store closures have tripled so far this year, with 8,600 stores projected to close in total in 2017. That by far surpasses the previous record of 6,163 stores in 2008 at the onset of the credit crisis. So, it's bad. The incredible implosion in brick-and-mortar business is often blamed on the rise of internet retail or the Amazon effect. But my friends, that's another lie. Brandon writes, total e-commerce sales only account for 8.5% of total U.S. retail sales in the first quarter of 2017. This is according to the Commerce Department. This means that internet retail is nowhere near large enough to account for the considerable loss in standard retail business. Thus, we must look to the stagnation in consumer spending. So let's look at that. Auto sales continue their steady decline in 2017 as the short-lived boom now faces death as adjustable rate mortgages style loans turn over and new buyers become scarce. You got U.S. homeowner, the home ownership rate has absolutely collapsed. since 2007, and now you have more households renting than any time in the last 50 years. U.S. household debt has now reached levels not seen since 2008 before the credit crisis hit. So now it's even worse than it was in 2008. And those looking for government spending to save the day should look elsewhere, because nearly 75% of every tax dollar today goes towards non-productive spending on the part of the government. 75%. So you can totally understand and see why they need these exterior events to get people to shift their focus elsewhere. Folks, really, we need to be focused at home. And it's up to us to get our non-representing representatives in line. And if things keep going the way that it's going, it's going to be bad, because there's no bailouts this time. And I kind of feel like this is going to be the time when they let it all just... So it remains to be seen, but certainly, if you see a ratcheting up of geopolitical tensions, you can almost guarantee that something's going to happen. Greenspan just recently warned the bond bubble's about to burst. You never know. I'm Joe Joseph. This was thedailysheeple.com's News Shot. Feel free to comment below and visit our website at thedailysheeple.com. Have a great day, everybody.